Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Champagne Sundays with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey everybody, it is May 29th, 2022, and welcome to another Big Blend Radio Champagne Sundays anniversary show. Today we are toasting to music, one of our favorite things in life. We are airing live from Lynnwood, Washington. This is our last live show. In fact, our last live show in the Pacific Northwest before we head to deep in the heart of Texas. We're just north of Seattle, and it is doing exactly what it does here. It's raining.
It's raining.
But listen, the rhododendrons are out, the camellias are out, the azaleas are out. So people's iris are in bloom. It's just dogwoods are in bloom. So the rain does good stuff. So I'm just saying. Yeah. But hey, as you know, we are hosts Nancy, Reid, and Lisa Smith, a crazy mother-daughter travel team. We travel full-time across the country, documenting parks and public lands while we publish our magazines and run the radio shows and pet sit. So if there's an Amazon delivery or a FedEx delivery during the show today, you might get to hear some extra friends of ours. We've got DJ and Mr. Carter, the two dogs. Even a cat, Miss Chloe may come up and say hello on the show. But so that's what we do is we travel the country. And I said this is an anniversary show. This year we are celebrating 25 years of Big Blend magazines, and that does not include Nancy, your time with running Splash magazine in South Africa, and 15 years of Big Blend radio. See, and I think we started that when I was in my teens, right?
Yeah, something like that.
In my teens, so that means I'm only in my 20s.
Yeah, really. I mean, the younger you get, the younger I get. I'm good.
I know. I'm 21 today. Why not?
Okay.
It sounds good to me. And we've been traveling on our Love Your Parks tour on and off full-time, but we're back full-time again for 10 years now. And I know that we're getting close to 1,000 parks, which is amazing. And I think we've done more, but we're still tallying them all up. During the COVID pandemic, we were in a lot of parks. I think that's what we did. We stayed in bed and breakfast, played with dogs and cats, and played parks. And now we're catching up. So excited today, Nancy. We've got a good show, and we want to thank the National Parks Arts Foundation for being our sponsor. We do a show with them every first Friday where we interview artists and residents who get to spend a month in a national park. So I encourage you to check out nationalparksartsfoundation.org. Whether you're a writer, a musician, a songwriter, a painter, a poet, photographer, filmmaker, you should apply to go and stay in one of their residencies. I mean, a full month in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. You get your own house with a recording studio overlooking the beach. I'm just saying.
It's so cool.
And places like Chaco Canyon up in northern New Mexico, Dry Tortugas National Park, where you get your own island. You're off the grid for a full month on Loggerhead Key. It's super cool.
How cool is that?
I know. Just as cool as our guest joining us, we've got Ed Roman back on the show. It's been a few years since we've had him on, and we love Ed. He loves to garden. We've always talked about gardening. I think sometimes we talk about UFOs and paranormal things, and the last time he was on his show, his album Red Omen was out. But he's got 3 new singles out, and he's got a brand new one coming up in the next few days. So anyway, He's an award-winning singer, songwriter, performer, multi-instrumentalist. He is from Shelburne, Ontario in Canada. So he's going to be joining us in a few seconds here. We're going to Canada, and we're also going to the Netherlands. We're going to chat with Justin Kniest, known as Just. He is a Dutch-born singer-songwriter, and he creates a mixture of avant-pop, synthwave, and post-rock. His debut album is out now, and it is absolutely incredible. I keep listening to it over and over. It is. It's called Deep Cycles, and that's exactly what happens. You kind of just get sucked right into it, and you keep cycling it over and over and over again. So really good to have him on the show today, too. But before we bring Ed and Justin on, Nancy, what is your champagne toast?
Well, okay, because we really do have to toast, of course, our armed forces because of everything they have done and are doing for us. So that would be my initial toast for today.
Yes, here.
But I do have one other. because I'm just fascinated by this. On today, in 1953, Edmund Hillary from New Zealand and Tenzing Norgay from Nepal were the first explorers to reach the summit of Mount Everest. And it's the highest point on Earth. Just think about it. If you could say, I went to the highest point on Earth and I walked there.
Dude, that's pretty cool. Crazy.
And then, then the mountain itself is as high, it reaches 2/3 of the way through the air of the Earth's atmosphere. That's how tall it is. It's where the jet cruise. Dude.
Like serious.
Yeah, that's a serious mountain.
That's a serious walk. Hey, honey, I'm just going for a walk. I'm going to take the dogs for a walk.
Yeah, and the two of them. It's like,
dude,
hello. Dude.
I toast to them. To them. You brought up the armed forces. Of course, it's Memorial weekend, and Memorial Day is important. And there's something we've got to remember, and a friend of ours, Cynthia from Midnight Botanicals, posted this on Instagram today, and I think it's really important we do remember. Armed Forces Day is for those still in their uniform. Veterans Day is for those who hung up their uniform. Memorial Day is for those who never made it out of their uniform. I toast to all three. And but really, we've got to think, especially, you think about World War II, Vietnam. We also think about those who've lost their lives in Ukraine. Right. There's just so much what is happening. We need music, so the power of music I toast to all the time. I mean, I think there's not a day. I belong to a gratitude club group on Facebook, and we post 5 things every day. And I don't know, it's like every other day it's music. The power of music.
Well,
music gets me through everything. So, I think there's just so much going on, and we just do need to pay respect and just be mindful and have those moments of thinking of what these men and women have gone through in service around the world. So, and of course our country here. So thank you for all you do. And I also want to toast to the Pacific Northwest. We've been here for 3 months. You've got a lot of rain. I'm going to say that. But like I said in the beginning, your gardens are beautiful, absolutely exquisite, and your natural landscapes are beyond amazing. Incredible. We were just at Crater Lake National Park. I mean, like
beautiful.
What? It is insanely beautiful. It is it's just one of those moments where you really look down at this really deep lake. I think it's the deepest lake in America. And you're just totally blown away. Like it's just jaw-dropping. And it just reminds us of why we do what we do. These national parks should be protected, preserved, and maintained and put on the budget. So
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I want to toast to the Pacific Northwest. We've made a lot of new friends. We've seen old friends, and we've met a lot of new animal friends, too. We've guinea pigs, chickens, dogs, cats, fish, birds.
And soon a donkey.
And well, that's Arkansas. That's coming up. So Texas, we're coming for you next. All right. So let's, I think that, thinking about, moving forward in life and things that are not easy, I think we should start the show with the song Stronger from Ed Roman. And
cool.
And everyone keep up with Ed. Go to edroman.net, and we'll bring him on right after. But here it is, Stronger. It's a good way to kick off a Champagne Sunday.
How do you want to go? But just lead the way. Makes no difference to me, so I can hear you say, my waistcoat of disaster, I threw it all away. And I'm feeling stronger, you're gonna hear me say, I'm feeling stronger every day. I'm feeling stronger every day. Well, I'm melting my pennies down and dusting off my brow. At the Cherry Convention, they can show you how. It's my lucky pine cone, we're gonna talk to Ray. I didn't see that coming, you're gonna hear me say, I'm feeling stronger every day. I'm feeling stronger every day. I'm feeling stronger with experienced friends. You could call it old-fashioned, not really a trend. And at the Pharaoh's White House, they'll bring you in to shore. And I think you could love it. I'll thank you even more. I'm feeling stronger, stronger every day. 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 Stronger, stronger every day. Stronger, stronger every day. Somebody break my bones. Stronger, stronger every day. Stronger, stronger every day. I'm finally free. Stronger, stronger every day. Stronger, stronger every day. I'm finally free. I'm finally free. Stronger, stronger every day. Hey, can I find you up? Stronger, stronger every day. Somebody break my bones. Stronger, stronger.
Hey everyone, you're listening to Big Blend Radio's Champagne Sunday show with Nancy and Lisa, and that was Stronger by Ed Roman. Listen to him. I mean, really, just listen to how good that is. It is
That's
so good and
awesome.
exciting to have him back on the show. He's an award-winning singer, songwriter, performer, multi-instrumentalist. I can say that 3 times while drinking
Wow.
champagne. He's from
You go,
Shelburne,
girl.
Ontario, so welcome back, Ed. How are you?
Lisa and Nancy, it's great to be here, and thanks for playing that tune. You made me smile. I haven't heard it in a little while.
Yeah, you know it's a perfect song, and I was just thinking at the
Yeah, it's
beginning of it,
awesome.
it goes with Nancy's toes. Like you're going to get higher, you're going to go up, you know.
That's
it's like,
right.
yeah,
A
quite
little
that
bit
mountain.
every day, you know. It's kind of like working a garden, I always say. You got to nurture it along. You can't just put a seed in the ground and expect fruit the next day. It's a process, and I'm happy that tune came out the way it did.
No, I love it. I love
That's
it. How
fun.
is
I
your
like
garden? What's it like this time of year?
Well, I've been going full tilt. I'm telling you, my hands are sore. My index finger feels like an old French fry on my right hand just because I've been digging. I decided not to rototill this year, and I've been doing all this sort of micro gardening kind of concept stuff for the first time. But new earth, you know, new manure, new compost. My corn is up. My beans are up. My peas are up. I got started early in April, and I had almost 500 little plants, everything from tomatoes and peppers and stuff that I started while there was still snow on the ground in my garage. So I'm a 2-4, 365-day gardener now.
Cool.
I love it. I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the gardening thing is so important. I think it's so good to have our own vegetables too, and our own fruit that we grow, and it's helping, get. This whole mass market, like this mass farming thing isn't necessarily good for the earth. So the more we can do of our own, the better,
Well, and that's just it. I think part of it has always been my lifestyle. My parents did it. My grandparents did it. We did it as kids. It brings me a lot of joy. It brings me a lot of tactical joy, and immediately when I do something, I see the byproducts of my efforts. I don't have to wait for somebody to get back to me or pay for it or have an app to, create it somehow. It's immediately in front of me, right? And it's empowering. I think that as much as I boast it and talk about my vegetables and almost show them off like they're children sometimes, I think getting involved with kids in your family and doing it really sort of recalibrates your idea about, like you just said, where does food come from? How did it get here? Who grew it? What does it take? What is the effort? You're talking about Memorial Day weekend, and one of the champagne toasts you ladies were talking about was, just having that idea of reverence for the important things that are around us. And gardening, to me, is one of those things. I mean, it's like you say, it's on everybody's spectrum, and you can't eat money.
No, and it's a good connection to the earth. I mean, how do you understand something if you never get your hands dirty?
Well, and I think that's it, perception. It's paying attention to things. I know people will say, well, I'm not good at growing plants or things. And I ask, and invariably, well, why? Well, I don't pay attention to it, or I didn't water it. The phrase, the constant gardener, is there for a reason, because you're almost like a doting parent sometimes, right? And it's not like a control freak thing, but it's a sense of presence. It's a sense of connectivity to what's happening. And I really enjoy it. Like, even all through the summer, it's where I get my decompression from.
Does it help with creativity? Because I look at nature, and because Nancy and I are big nature freaks, and to me, there's just this mind-blowing thing of how, like, you look at patterns in the leaves and you listen to the birds. And to me, that is like the biggest creative influence ever. Does that? I mean, I look at George Harrison. Look at him, and he's like the constant gardener, right? He was just like, I could never tour again and just be in my garden and be happy. I wonder how much inspiration came for him, and does that happen for you in the garden for your music?
What an amazing question, because I think what it is both. I see the creative process moving into the garden just because it's part of that thinking process. How do I make this work? What like, even songwriting to me is akin to the same sort of system, because the idea of a catalyst of an idea in a song may be the seed. And as soon as you plant that seed, it's in you. That seed, from the moment it goes into the ground, starts talking to you and asking questions of you. That artistic process comes from the fact that you've literally taken that action. And from the moment that seed is planted, it's saying, I need water. I don't need water. I need pruning. I need weeding. I need TLC of some kind. I don't need anything. I'm just enjoying the day. Whatever it might be, it's the same thing with writing a song. In that creative process, the catalyst of the idea is continually asking me and pulling me through the effort. But what's most exhilarating about it is that you take that trip, you take that adventure, and it becomes part of, like, you guys were talking about these artist retreats and Chaco Canyon and things like that, and I'm like, it would do this. It would do the same. Yeah, I would love to go. It would do the same thing where you're in this other framework of thinking, and questions are being asked of you. So it's funny. I often see where that process for me exists in so many places, even from the way that I might put something in a basket at a grocery store to how I might paint a wall. And I think that's the other side of artistic behavior, is that it's not necessarily just in the field of the arts, because it is an art form to be a great mechanic. It is an art form to be a great carpenter. It is an art form to be. I've seen backhoe operators that are like Picassos, with what they can do with a backhoe. So to me, it's the passion that drives it, really.
I think this is
your craft.
Yeah, it's about presence, being present. And I think I want to go to your song today. Tomorrow is today, because I think that is the ultimate of presence. Like, how Eckhart Tolle. Now, I like to listen to him. He's got the cliff voice. He will be. I'm not going to do it because I'll mess it up. But people need to do impressions of him. But I mean it nicely. But there's a thing about being present in the moment. Like, when you're driving, you need to be present. And the same thing in music. I think that's this powerful thing about music, is when a performance goes over really well, or a recording, it's when the musician or musicians together are present in this bubble of, that zone. And so I think that is part of creativity, is being present and aware.
100%, because, it's funny. It's like, I have a list of songs I might play before a show, or sets I might put together, and sometimes they go out the window. I usually follow them, but I'm really interacting in the present moment of what the audience is feeling, and that's acting in the moment, in the presence of the moment. Then at the same time, the reaction, the symbiotic reaction through the audience's response, or even how I'm feeling through the process of playing the song, I'm there. I'm performing it. I know what I'm doing. I know what's going to happen, but I don't think about it that much, because it's more of a part of me, because I wrote it. It wrote me. I'm then, in some cases, driven by character through the lyrical metaphors and things that are like that to almost, I don't feel like I'm there sometimes. Somebody once said to me, "You look like a human gargoyle on stage sometimes." I'm like, thanks,
dude.
Thanks. Because I get it, and I used to, when I was a much younger person, listen to this sort of transmutation of people when they're performing. And that's what I loved about certain artists, like Tom Waits. One of my most favorite American artists is that he has this way to color, not only just with language and music, but if you've ever seen Tom in a live performance or even recorded performances or interviews, there is so much character that is just oozing out of everything that you almost feel like somehow you are with this person under a little bridge in Brooklyn or something, and you're talking about why the trash hasn't been picked up, while you're passing around half a bottle of wine. Yeah, he's unbelievable, right? Like,
and he gets the grit. He goes right down to that little grain of grit that people want to keep shoving under the rug, and he's like, it's coming out.
I know, but then at the same time, with that sense of dirty grit, like you so eloquently pointed out, there are times that, like Coney Island Girl from that, I can't remember if it's from Bastard Brawlers and Babes, but that song, I weep. Because it's so beautiful, the sound, the middle of the lyrics themselves and the way that they're cast, as gritty and dirty as it feels, it's so beautiful because of the way that the lyrical content comes out. And I think that's it's like perfume makers in France, they have all these special tinctures and extractions from all kind of botanicals that they use, and then they put in one drop of diseased bile duct from a whale or something, and that gritty, awful kind of crap that's in there is that attraction mechanism somehow.
Dude,
right?
I was waiting for you to do the trip out, and you're here. You're here.
Yeah,
I'm opening more champagne. This is getting good.
That's
great.
really funny. I'm never going to look at the whale the same again.
I know. Listen, we got to save the whales. This is a big deal.
Apparently, part of the Loch Ness monster is actually something to do with a whale. I'm not going to say any more than that.
Okay, well, it's a whale penis.
Yes,
I had to bring it
up.
Well,
and then back to the seed metaphor again. You've got I'm putting manure. Right into the ground along with compost, and so what in essence is really creating life is excrement,
Yeah. So all built on a pile of.
That is life. That is life for sure. What is your champagne toast?
My champagne, I was thinking about that when you guys were talking about that. And what great toasts you guys had. I have two as well. So two WO, two as well WO. One would be that last time we spoke and Red Omen was doing what it was doing, the video has seen so much attention worldwide, and it has created so much awareness for the Dyslexic Society and raised not only attention but monies. And I'm still having processing issues with kind of coming to grips with what it's done. It's so wonderful to see it not just have that longevity. For me personally as an artist, I can't lie. It's a wonderful feeling. But what's more incredible is that it has done that. And in this serendipitous kind of way, like the more I gave away, the more came back in this really beautiful kind of way. So that's my first champagne toast, is that I'm so privileged that is what it is. And my other champagne toast.
I want to toast to that. Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. You got it?
Yeah, toast. Please.
Okay, toast.
I'm sipping.
Don't burp.
And the other one is I'm so excited. I said to somebody the other day, half of my body, 1 foot is in the 20th century, with wanting to build things and garden. And my other foot is in the 21st century with the digital umbilical cord of existence. And, you ladies as well know, come on, the show is a big part of what goes on, but so much of it happens because of that new mechanism in telecommunications that we have. So we're in both worlds. You guys go in the parks, you guys write songs, you're writers, so you get that. But the other side of it is like, well, I'm doing this. So the second toast is, I got bees. I've got bees. I've got hives of bees now, and I'm excited to be making honey.
Listen, you know that gardening is like the beginning of civilization, right? Like that's when it started. And gardening and farming.
As an amateur, I guess you might say, anthropologist, and been studying history for a long, long time, I know that civilization and growth periods are highly, highly connected and run almost parallel to agricultural prosperity. So without agricultural prosperity, you do not have other kinds of growth.
We'd be running naked in the woods. But who said we wouldn't do that anyway?
All righty,
you know. But listen, and you've got bees, and bees. Nancy, we love bees, and we must do whatever we can bee-wise. So there's one thing. You're making honey. This is really cool. It's good for the garden. It's good for you definitely. We always talk about gardening and plants and habitat, creating habitat for bees and birds and beneficial insects and reptiles. That it creates, it mitigates the dead zones that we have in society. The more parking lots we put up and the more concrete without any kind of greenery creates these dead zones, which when we look at climate change and all of that that's going on, we're just burning ourselves up. So we need whatever kind of greenery and habitat that we can do. That's why I think all these corporate industrial places plant some gardens,
really. 10,000%. You know what? On that same note, go running with it even further. We could do it and say a big part of young educational inside of the education systems should have this sort of connectivity to preservation of green space. What is that green space designated as such? It does. Teddy Roosevelt, what were the Grand Tetons about? The idea of preserving these special areas for future generations and for the prosperity of longevity is highly important. I think it's just as important to be able to know how to grow a proper garden every summer as it is to use calculus.
Absolutely.
So it could go further than that.
And try to eat your calculus. Just saying.
Bite that calculator.
That cosine tangent button is a little bit hard to chew on. I put a little salt on it.
Okay. So is part of your garden idea, but I have to go back to the bees before I get into that. The bees, they're just so cool. Do you see recording the sound of bees and using it in any of your music? Because there is like you think about Flight of the Bumblebee, right? And it just builds, and it's crazy. But there's a beauty of the sound of bees, too, just one, and then here we're all doing stuff, we're busy. Do you ever see doing that?
I do, and I got all excited when they showed up and started taking pictures and video and even did like a slow-mo. And I put it on my Instagram channel, and I thought just the exact same thing. I have they're piezo microphones, so they're pressure sensitive, and I can literally get the sound of the box vibrating or them flying around. And it, that's the thing you were asking before. Is nature influential through that process in terms of like artistic, reflection? And if it's not literally the sound, sometimes it can be just in the presence of it. So what I mean by that, and we were talking bees, 5 years ago I'm working in the garden. I hear this buzzing, loud like buzzing, coming out of the back field behind me. And all of a sudden I see this cloud. And it's all bees. And they're following a queen. And they're going to this new place that's up in a maple tree across on the other side of my property. And I got down on one knee. I was like genuflecting. And I started to weep because I was in the presence of something I have never seen before. It was so beautiful that this whole colony is following this queen to go and like build a new hive system. And I was speechless. I thought to myself, where do you go? Like, you can't pay for a ticket and get in a line somewhere and say, hey, I'm watching the bees move. No, it was this beautiful, special moment that if you're in, it's like, Hunter, what's his name? Not Hunter S. Thompson. He was one of Jerry Garcia's co-writers, and he once wrote a lyric that said, once in a while you get shown the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right. And influentially, having those kinds of moments are like recalibrative in some way that make you go, hey, I'm human, I'm an animal, I'm experiencing this, and it's humbling. It's majestic. There's so many words that you could throw towards it, and it still wouldn't, exemplify the feelings that you can have, provided that you're willing to witness it that way. It's the same thing with following the idea in a song, or, being able to understand your garden and what it's asking of you. So I see it everywhere sometimes, and other times I'm oblivious to it because I'm so caught in the ether of the machine, and that's why I go back to nature so often, because it's like you guys were talking. I mean, wow, a retreat, even if it's for half an hour,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You've got to go back to nature. It just
you do.
It's humbling as well. Sometimes we need to have that humbleness. We have to have humble pie on our side, in life.
You get too stressed, and that results in anger or fatigue, either one, and then stupid things happen.
Well, you're right, and I think that removing yourself, like you both just said, when I was working as a music therapist at one of the institutes up here, prior to kids coming, they were coming with lots of issues, everything from drug addiction to all kinds of social issues. About the age of 14, cutoff point was 18, so there's sort of a sweet spot in there. 6 months prior to even coming to the institute through a 5-stage program, the kids went to a national park, and there was no access to TV, internet, newspapers, nothing. It was you're in the bush, you're doing stuff in the bush, you're hiking, you're canoeing, and without that decompression, coming even into stage 1 through that would make it extremely difficult because they're still so omnidependent on that digital feed continually that it's really hard for people to shut that off. I mean, people go to clinics now because of addictions to the internet, right? So.
And then they got into gambling and porn online too. I mean,
Everything.
It's one of the top hobbies.
Yeah.
Is that online? And I'm like, okay, go outside. If you want to gamble and you want to watch porn, go out in nature. You'll get both. Because it's always a risk when you go out there and you want to go hunt for, not hunt and kill the animal, but like you want to go maybe look for different bird species. So there's your gamble. And then spring is spring. Spring is really happening. We just watched 2 swans do it the other day. Well, it's true. So, I mean, I'm just saying, you can get that instead of, it's far better in nature than just.
Oh yeah, I mean, get out there with a black bear and see how you feel, right?
No, we won't be doing that. But tell us a little bit about your new single that's coming out.
Well, hey, I'm really excited to bring new stuff to people always, and this tune, it's kind of I always say a Canadiana, Americana, Canadiana, and people are like, well, what is that? Is it folk? It feels like it fills you into this sort of funnel of thinking. But, I mean, I'm a Canadian, so it's a Canadiana number. But there's an old world feel to the song. It's very different than Tomorrow is Today, or less rocking, let's say, than Stronger. But it's a 6/8. It's a waltz. And the ideas and the lyrics that are in it are very suggestive of a dreamlike state, of things that we maybe, wish for, that we wish we had, or feelings that we wish we could create. And what's most important is that, like with the conversation we had earlier about passion, is that you have that ability to dream. Dreaming and even daydreaming, people like, you have your head in the clouds. But I'm seeing something in my imagination, my third eye, the thing that drives me to have empathy for something, or something that makes me get angry because I know it's unjust. Those are the same things that when I conceptualize them by dreaming, I can almost manifest. When I was a kid, I wrote a lyric that said, when I was young, I could make it rain. More recently, it's in the song that I'm sort of working on right now.
Thanks. It's here in the Pacific Northwest. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, make it not rain maybe for a while, right? But I remember there was these feelings I had when I was a kid where I really wanted to skate. My brother could skate, my dad could skate, all my friends could skate, and here I am, wobbled ankles, right? And I'm skating on a cow pasture, in northern Ontario in Markham in the middle of January, trying to figure out how to do this, right? I went to sleep one night, and I had this dream where I could skate. I could see myself skating. I could watch myself. I wasn't falling down. I wasn't as afraid. The next day when I went and put on those blades and got out onto the pasture, I could do it. Somehow, through the dream, I had convinced myself, watch yourself through this process. It's like paying attention and being cognitive of what's going on. And so often, in any endeavor that we take, we're already intimidating ourselves, even though when you're bolstering up with a big chest like, blah, 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 I'm going to jump off the cliff anyway into the water, there's still that sense of intrepidation. You're not sure if it's the right idea to do that yet. And you know, whether that's courage or being courageous or not, I'm not entirely sure. But regardless, it has that same sort of connectivity and feeling attached to it. And you know, man, it's a healthy thing. So the idea of the song is don't forget to dream. There's so many things that tell you how to do things. This is what you do. This is da-da-da. But the reason that so many people we look to in society and even in the past in history, whether they were poets, inventors, whatever they may be, they dreamt about it. There's times when you listen to Tesla even talking about it, like he did these things inside of his mind because he played with it. He had this wide volume and spectrum of information, but it's how you play with all the information that creates that new spark. So to speak.
It's part of visualization, and your brain's at different states, whether you're sleeping or daydreaming or, you know, and I think it's, I mean, I you know, that old adage of I'll sleep on it, I really do. Whenever I'm like, I just go, okay, I tell my brain before I go to sleep, this is the thing, we're going to solve this while I rest because I need this. You're going to do your job, and when I wake up, we're going to fix whatever it is. And I swear to God, it works. It's visualization, and even
it takes the fear out of it. When you can think about it more
dealing
clearly.
with things. Yeah, and it's exciting. Visualization, like, you know, when you want to reach a certain goal or achieve something or create, right? So visualization really works, and it's co-creative. You're in a co-creative space. And if you really work on it and get really, talk about connecting with nature, right? So you are. I mean, that's why I believe that there's all these extra powers or whatever things that we have, senses that we can, you know, the more you get into visualization, like you can trip yourself out, man. That's when you can start being psychic. You can start talking to other things, and they know. You can talk to plants. You can do all that kind of cool stuff. Our next guest, Justin's going to probably be freaking out about what kind of a show am I on. I know, Justin, it's going to be okay, I swear. But, you know, when you visualize, you are putting yourself in that place of possibility, making it reality because you're co-creating it. And I swear most of the time it will happen exactly how you visualized it. And if it goes a little bit off course, you already have your game plan. You don't have to think about it. You know what's going to happen. Because you created it. It's wild. We're weird, aren't we? So when you plant your garden, are you like putting a landing pad for spaceships?
No, the pad was built early. I did that before I even started the garden years ago. I wanted to make sure there was ample space for the craft.
I had to make sure, just to really, you know, make this radio interview go right.
That whole thing of the fear mechanism inside of it. Here's a great test. I've lived and worked with big animals my whole life, cows specifically. A cow or other animals in general already have a sense of your emotional frequency right when you walk up to them. They already know. It's like when I was really young, one of the things my mom and dad always told me is try not to be afraid around the animals, the bigger cattle, because they sense your fear. Dogs will do it. Cats will do it. And we don't realize it as humans that we are projecting those things on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that.
And they also pick up intent. You know, because the opposite of fear, it is still fear in my mind, but it's covered up with being cruel. A person who's cruel to an animal is a person who's afraid of that animal.
And of themselves.
Exactly. An animal knows that. They already know.
Fear is about fear of yourself because you don't know how you're going to handle something. But if you start thinking about it,
you're not in control of your faculties almost in many ways, especially your spiritual faculties, your moral compass.
And that's why we have so much trauma going on in the world. It's all based on fear, all this racism and this just hatred and, you know, blowing people up and, you know, it's out of control. And I think it really all is stemming from some weird fear thing. And I think it is about a lack of connection to nature. I think it is a direct connection, honestly. Like what you're saying about these kids going out to a park and, you know, getting out into a park away from the internet and things like that. You know, I think we all need that. And I don't know. I think things are just got
We're moving too fast.
Crazy hysteria.
Well, you know what? The great Mayan emperor Voltran Pakal once said that if mankind wants to continue to exist, it has to start living within natural time again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's what we don't. We're so supplemented by the watch and the system and the alarm clock, and work starts now and it ends here, and this is when we're supposed to sleep.
And the damn calendars. We got it. The calendars don't even
and
make sense.
This is. I would love to do a show with you about that sort of collective consciousness experience at this point in time, because time is greatly influenced by that. Think about this. If you had no recollection of time, if you didn't measure it in any simple way by a clock, or didn't know the calendar, what month, year, or anything, would you actually have longevity past your normal age span because you didn't understand time?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that you would, because, well, I know that we don't have a clock anymore, Nancy and I.
Won't wear a watch.
And I screw up every time zone because we're in a different time zone all the time.
Yeah.
And then we work in different time zones. And so we really just kind of go with the birds, and so that is our clock. And I really am against calendars, because why do we have 30 days and 31? Then no, we're going to play February. Now we're going to play leap year. Well, what about the people that were born on February 28th? That's rude.
Right. Well, and you know, some may argue, too, if you really look at the sort of cosmological timing of certain things, that the 5 extra days that are in the 365-day cycle, it should actually be 360. The 3 and the 6 are part of the divine cycle of numbers that are part of the equation. Even if you go back to the Veda texts, some of the things that you see inside of those calculations are greatly responsible. And ancient people used to see, in paganistic people, those 5 days as days you did nothing on. That they weren't a part of something that was in the normal framework of things. They were like evil days or whatever they might be, right? So that's even part of the substructure of certain things too that we don't even realize. And that's the other thing. If time is askew, then if say Pope Gregory II or the First said, well, this is standardized time and this is what it's going to be right across the world many years ago, as he did, well, what is true time? Are we really in 2022?
No.
What divides that moment in that space? Yeah, like we know from BP before present that, you know, 5,000 years ago this happened, 200 years ago this happened, but we really don't have a concept of our cosmological cycle of timing.
That's true, but that now doesn't music take that out too?
That's funny.
It's
funny.
You know, it's like no, music is about cycles. And so it's not that there's, of course, you know, drums and, you know, rhythms and beats and timing, but it really, music doesn't work if it doesn't go to the heartbeat. It doesn't.
Right. It's organized that way on purpose when you think about it.
Yeah, and that's why the waltz is really fun to watch people try to do.
Yeah. But listen, I really do. I love that song, by the way, your new one coming out. Everyone, I Have a Dream, so watch for that. Keep up with Ed on his website, edroman.net, also on his Instagram and Facebook page, and on Twitter, too, under Special Ed Roman, not just Ed, Special Ed Roman.
Special.
Yeah, he's got the specials. So we're going to close. Now we're going to play the song Happiness, because now we talked through Tomorrow is Today, but we're going to play Happiness because I think that's a good song. It's Champagne Sundays. We're supposed to be happy. We're supposed to be happy beings. So let's be happy. How about that?
Cheers.
Cheers to you,
Cheers.
Ed.
Cheers to you, ladies. Lisa and Nancy, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. And listen, we will do the woo-woo show. I'm calling it the woo-woo show. Let's do it. Let's do the collective
I'm excited.
consciousness.
I would love to do it. And if we had more time, that would be wicked, because you know me, I'm a chatterbox.
Yeah. We'll just do a special show. We'll have a good time. And
cool,
you can take us to the garden. Cool.
All right.
Yeah,
that would be great. I wish it was big. Yeah. That would be amazing. Take you out there and start. My corn's up. I'm excited. My corn.
I want to see your corn. That sounds bad.
I'm a bad gardener, ladies.
I didn't say corn stalk. Now, if I said that would have been bad, but I didn't.
Corn stalk in the moonlight. That's the end of my tale.
That sounds good. Moonshine's coming. Moonshine. Here it is. Everyone, here's Happiness. Thank you so much, Ed. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, ladies. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Be safe and healthy and happy.
You too.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
1, 2.
everybody now, cry everybody, cry everybody, cry everybody. Better than the framework of catastrophe. Well, cry everybody now, cry everybody now, cry everybody, cry everybody. It's just happiness, it's just happiness, it's just happiness, it's just happiness, happiness, it's just happiness, it's just happiness. I see the stars swing out of position. What do you think of my new disposition? Let me turn you on to ecstasy. Well, cry everybody now, cry everybody, cry everybody, cry everybody. Get rid of your anxieties. Well, cry everybody now, cry everybody, cry everybody, cry everybody. Well, it's just happiness, it's just happiness, it's just happiness, it's just happiness, happiness, it's just happiness, it's just happiness, it's just happiness, 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 it's just.
Everyone, again, that was Happiness by Ed Roman, and you can keep up with him at edroman.net. And now I want to eat corn on the cob. Just what happened.
That was
You know.
fun.
Very fun. It's been so long since we talked with him, and I forgot just how much fun he is. He is a blast. All right, so very excited about our next guest, Justin Kniest, joining us over. And, I mean, this is just going to be so exciting. His album is incredible. It's called Deep Cycles, and we were kind of talking about cycles earlier,
Right.
but it's music that I resonate. I don't know if it's just from my age group, but, you know, I just this album feels like an old friend. Like I can just listen to it over and over and over again. And Justin goes by Just. That's his name.
Why not?
And I know. And it's out now, Deep Cycles. So check out his website. Go to just-artist.com, and we're going to bring him on. But first, we're going to play the first track off of the album, and it just hooks you right in. So just be prepared. You're gonna buy a new album. Very good. So it's called Dark Days. So take a listen. Again, the album name is Deep Cycles. But here it is, Dark Days.
I would always run away, too afraid to face the dark and lonely day. Used to paint the days in gold, straining every nerve to fit into the mold. Was just a game to stop the pain. No, you shouldn't keep it all inside. No, you shouldn't keep it all inside. Dreams and drugs, they cannot bleed. losing force, they made me see the only tyrant here is the lonely boy in me. I feel his pain stops the rain. Feel the pain stop the rain. No, I couldn't keep it all inside. No, I couldn't keep it all inside. Oh, just call me weak, I swallow my pride. No, can't take another life. I've tried. I've tried. So sit down, close your eyes. You just have to trust it. The darker ride. Embrace it and fight the need. You will see that bad days are meant to be. No, I couldn't keep it all inside. No, I couldn't keep it all inside. Oh, just call me weak, I swallow my pride. Oh, can't take another life. I've tried. I've tried.
You're listening to Big Blend Radio Champagne Sunday with Nancy and Lisa, and that was Dark Days, the very first track from the album Deep Cycles. I'm telling you, you're going to get it. Go buy it. I'm telling you, go get it, everybody. Go to the website just-artist.com, and we have music artist Justin Kniest joining us. I think he's all the way over in Utrecht. I think it's so exciting. So welcome, Justin. How are you?
Good afternoon, ladies.
Oh, your microphone sounds great. Welcome to the show.
Thank
How
you.
are you?
Yeah, very good. How are you?
Well, we're doing wonderful. I love your album. I really love it, and I think it goes like, because I was probably a teenager, and I don't want to tell everybody my age, but like in the 80s and 90s, right? So there's this sound that I've missed that is just so beautifully layered and dynamic, and a little bit of everything in there. It's beautiful. It's a great album. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's you're just calling out everything that where I'm a fan from too. Yeah, I'm a child from the 80s, and I love those layered sounds of the 80s, combined with vocals and lyrics that are about the deeper stuff in life. So I'm glad you appreciate it, and thanks for having me.
It. Oh yeah, this is great, and your singing is fantastic, and like I said, it's a layered sound, and then there's the 80s that had that bubblegum ting tack tack, stuff that I'm not into. You know what I mean? And then there's this, that is just magic. But the drums on there,
They're
drums,
beautiful,
they're
right?
like perfect. It's like this, it's almost embryonic ocean kind of drumming. That's so weird, but it's true.
And that's all. That's all my producer's work. So I produced this record with Minko Eggersman, which is a Dutch producer, which does a lot of soundtracks, and he has this certain style, this very specific style of drumming. So it's not 4 on the floor and just kick it. He has this tom patterns, and it really embellishes the song, So he works around the song, and that's was very special for me to work with somebody like that.
Yeah, I think when you do a soundtrack, you understand to have space.
Yeah, and that's what we set out to do from the get-go. That so we both are huge Talk fans, and especially the last 2 albums of Talk, which are basically turning a combination between pop music and jazz, and there's so much space between the notes that we both love that, and we set out from the start to try to let the music breathe and have some space around it.
Yeah, the synth is really, there's an art to it, because it can either be this really tinny kind of sound, or if you put in like the drums, like what he did, and then the right kind of, because there's melancholy for sure, and you've got this, the textures, you've got textures, and if you do it right, you have your album, there's these textures, and I think that's something that some of the synths, when it first came out, it just hurt. It sounds like cats mating, and that is not what we want. But the synth, when done well, but when done well, I mean, it's just to me, it is this massive exploration of sound if you do it and get into it and embrace it fully. It's more
organic. It's
and that's
not
funny,
over,
because we also set out to use the same production techniques as bands like Talk did. So we talked to the producer of those albums, and it's funny because on the one hand you use all these beautiful drum kits, guitars, vintage, and on the other hand you're also using vintage digital equipment. So it's and digital and analog, but both are they're all vintage. They all have a personality, which modern plugins don't really have. And it would have been easy to just do the plugin, and for somebody that doesn't know what that means, that most of the sounds these days you can get out of the computer pretty easily. And we did our demos like that. So we first created the demos out of the box, as they say, with the plugins, and then later on we went into the studio to replay them with real instruments. And the difference is huge, but not in a way that you would expect it to be, because when you use these plugins, everything is perfect, and then you start using real drums, real guitars, real singing, and suddenly it gets human, and that means human means not better. It actually means less tight, a little bit edgy, and so you have to get used to it, really, to go from that perfection back to human. But I think that's what you hear.
It's more feeling.
Vinyl versus CD,
It's just warmer with more feeling. Like it's who wants to really be automatic?
Yeah, and it's easy to go that route, to make everything perfect, and that's what they didn't do in these days. Back in the 80s, they just had good musicians, and they played it live or played it right onto tape, and that was that. And it was normal that music was not perfect.
Tape. I mean, tape is bendy. That's what was beautiful about tape. It's just there's a warmth to it, even in film. Like there's a warmth and a stretchiness to it that gives it's part of nature. Whereas, like, you know what I mean? It's just not metallic all the time.
Absolutely.
So I think that's what's beautiful. But your music also has a lot of good bass in there that I think does a big balance of it. And so I think it just really is this calm, like, gets you in there, gets under your skin, and like it's so much feeling in there. The song we just played, Dark Days, kind of gives me a vibe of Albatross from Peter Green.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's part of the drums. It's one of my most favorite songs on the planet. and you have that exact same dynamic of you're drifting kind of thing, and yet those dynamics and that it is like being out in the ocean, and that's and reflective. I think that's the other thing that's so beautiful about this is reflective. And just like we were talking about earlier with our crazy conversation with Edro.
Yeah, I listened into that.
I know. I was like, Justin, we're not that crazy. We are.
No, it's all the same. It's all part of the same kind of discussions or insights you get when you experience certain things in life. Yeah,
I think that's what music is. It's personal. What everybody gets from listening is something personal for them. But talking about talk. I do have to give a shout out because David Joseph was on our show, a few months ago, with the album Solace. Everybody Held by Trees. This is another album you must have. It is
absolutely,
and if I say so, that's true. but no, Held by Trees is an awesome album, and so you were on there, right?
Yeah, that was really amazing. That was a great story. So I was working on my own album, and so one night I got an email from David, which I didn't know at that time. Who he said he loved my music because I already had a couple of singles out, and he's also a Talk fan. And he said, "Well, would you want to play on my upcoming In the Spirit of Talk album?" And I've got all these Talk veterans playing on it, and I want you to be part of it. And I was like, and I heard the names that he was talking about. And the first idea was, my first impression was, I'm not worthy of this. So I asked him, what do you want me to do? You want me to sing, or I want to play some guitar? He said, yeah, just play some guitar. I'll send you the sound of the sea waves hitting the beach. And
cool.
I'll only give you as a guideline that you have to play in C# major. And you do whatever comes up, you send it over, and we'll see. So that's the same like they did with the last Talk album. So they just asked the artists to just play something, total freedom, no boundaries. So I just sat down and gave it went half an hour or something, and I just did something which I never done before. So just doing something with music, and I sent it to him, and then I didn't hear anything back for 3 months. Not even a welcome, an acknowledgement saying, "Hey, I got the files." Nothing. And then 3 months later, I get this video of Phil Brown, the mixer engineer of Talk, who is also mixing the Held by Trees album, mixing a song which I didn't know yet, but I heard my guitar. So then he said, "Well, you're on the album. You're on track 4. It's called Wave Upon Wave," and it's been really crazy because there were 3 other musicians that also got the same assignment. So we didn't know what the other people played. We didn't even know each other, and he mixed these 4 into a song, which if you listen now back to it, I'm very proud of it because I love the sea, I love the vibe that it has, but it's nearly unbelievable that we didn't play in a room together because it sounds so consistent and so like a band. It's really that's incredible to be part of. And then I went to the release party. I got to meet all the musicians that played on the album.
Awesome.
So I was going from my attic room in Utrecht, the Netherlands, to London, and it was a rush.
Oh, that's awesome. Because I remember looking the release party. We had our Earth Day show, and on the same day of the release party. And
you did?
Because it was Earth Day, yeah. And David did a recording for the show, and we played a song from there. And because of the trees being planted for each album sale, which I think is wonderful. It's cool. And so Dire Straits is whirling around in all of this too. Like you've got Stephen Smith on this album. Everyone Deep Cycles, he's on this.
Yep.
So how did you meet him?
Yeah. Well, I've met him. I've met him through Minko, which is my producer, as I said, and he knew Stephen. I didn't, and we just asked him, and he's a really well-known Hammond organ player. Like, so with all these artists, I was like, to be fair, it's my debut album, so for me everything was like new and totally exciting. But also I was humbled, so I didn't know if anybody would want to play. But he heard my songs, and yeah, we just as it went, he played something, sent it back to us, and it was a miracle from the start. It was so beautiful, the parts he played. And then I thought that because David Joseph lives around the block from his studio. So I thought first that David knew me from Stephen.
Yeah.
But then later I heard that he knew me from the Facebook groups, talk group. So it's a total coincidence that, well, I don't even want to think about where this all comes from.
Yeah, it's wild how it all works. And I think the power of like what you're saying too, and David, is if you want something, go out and get it. You know what I mean? Ask.
Oh yeah.
You know, don't just go, oh, they'll never do this. Just send a message on Facebook and see what happens. You know, we have a music friend who's done the same thing, has ended up collaborating because he was open to other people too. And I'm like, you know, just ask, you know, and the only thing they can do is say no, and that's with life. You know, we always have that, going back to the first conversation, this fear thing doesn't work. You know, it's just go for it. And you've created this album that is a piece of art, and it's exciting when it's a debut because it's like, okay, now where is this going to go from here? Now we're like, this is exciting.
You know, if you don't try, then you've already you have defeated yourself. And I don't know, wouldn't it be better if you got defeated by somebody else instead of yourself?
Yeah. Well, the thing is also with my album, I'm 53, so I used to work. I've worked in the music business for half of my life. So I worked in a club called Paradiso in Amsterdam, which is like the pop temple of the Netherlands. All the big artists play there, and I've worked there for 14 years, and I've seen thousands of artists play the stage. And it didn't make me any more secure. So all these years I thought, well, what do I have to to add to all this? And for years I had this idea that people that I always had this urge, this calling to do music, but I always thought, well, the people that have this urge but are not talented enough, they're really not. I'm sorry for them. And for years I thought I was somebody like that. So that you don't have the talent, you do have the drive, and so that held me back until my 50th birthday. And so to what you're saying, you definitely have to do it.
We only have one life unless we do come back, which is, but we might not come back we might come back as a cockroach. And then, how do we play music other than make those weird noises,
I'm not coming back as a cockroach.
Well, I don't know. They always say cockroach whenever you talk about
they survive everything.
They do. They are the dinosaurs. Like cockroaches and snakes and crocodiles and roadrunners will take us out. They're going to live through everything. But just, going through and really going for it, I think it's important. But talk a little bit about your songwriting process. I mean, you're writing the words, you sing, but you've also, you play guitar, right? You play other instruments?
Yeah, I play guitar, bass, a little bit of piano, sing, enough to make a song. And then, so basically how it works, I always start with a chord scheme, like a chord progression, something that gives me a feeling that I haven't heard this before, or it gets me into a certain vibe, and then I just start, ghost texting over it. So like these gibberish lines. And somebody once told me, if you do these gibberish kind of nonsense words, just record everything, record every one of them, because that's where the unconscious puts out themes and little words and lines that you should really record and come back to later. So that's my process. I just sing whatever comes to mind, and then the whole refinement part comes. Getting into a chord structure, which is a song structure, and then when I've got the words and the music, then together with Minko we start arranging the song. So that's where the layers come in. We work with a very good arranger called Reid de Vries in Holland, who's really did a lot of the synth parts, the synth layers, which I never could have done myself, to be honest. So I'm really the songwriter, and then together with Minko and René, we finish the songs and then go to the studio. And the themes that what works for me with songwriting are basically the topics. If it starts to really get dangerous, if I feel that it's getting dangerously personal, like this is when I start to get a little sweaty, then I found out I'm on the right path. So that's so this whole album is full of songs that refer to a certain period from 2015 to 2017, where I had really some health issues, and from that came anxiety and panic attacks and stuff like that. And suddenly I had something to write about.
Well, and then here we have a pandemic after that. So I think as society we talked about that. We're at this point. We need music, and your album certainly gets us into a reflective state, and beautifully, because it's not doom and gloom. I want people to know that, the album, it has a lot of hope, and I think your voice really reflects that more than anything. There's a I'm coming, I'm going to be okay sound in your voice, and I wonder if that's part of that process you're talking about, where you're not editing. And I think as writers, we have to remember that as, writing articles and things like that. And I know authors go through the same process. Some people say you need to edit as you write, and I'm going, if I try to edit anything, I'm going to forget, because I'm getting there in age. I'm going to forget, so I'm going to write it all and go as fast as I can. And I don't care if my words are I don't type. I taught myself to type, so things are talk about dyslexic. Nancy sees this all the time. So you get it out, and then you go, oh, well, that's interesting that this came out. And it's, I think when you just go from the subconscious, you're getting right to it. And in songwriting, I write music too, if you just do it, and you're doing what you're saying, which I want to try that, because it's so hard to take what's in you and put it out there for other people. I have found as a writer, I can hear all these instruments, and I can hear an orchestra in my head, and I don't know how to give that to somebody other than sing it. But then the words aren't necessarily there. But it is emotion, isn't it? So when you go back to your music, you're kind of deciphering your emotion. Right.
Yes. Some part of the most interesting part of songwriting is something that you will never understand, and that makes it brilliant, but it also makes it a little terrifying, because you never know if you're gonna find it the next time. For me, for sure. So every song is a new challenge. But the thing, what I really love that you're saying, that you hear the hope in it, because I've tried before I started this album. I thought I really said to myself, we have to be transparent, and I somehow got to know myself a little. I always thought that I had to be this balanced person. So that to make sense of myself, I always balance things out. That doesn't
happen for us. Just so you know, you're talking to people are completely unbalanced.
But then you were much further in life than I was.
We're
a couple
crazy.
Of years ago. So I have these two really opposites. I'm vulnerable, and I'm moody sometimes. On the other hand, I'm very positive and have a can-do mentality. And these two different extremes I didn't try to balance it out this time. So you hear the melancholy. I'm singing about, the tough things in life. Not depression, but the song you just heard, "Dark Days," about not everything in life is going to be good, and not everything can be. There's not always a golden line to things that happen in life.
Right.
Some things are just shit.
I was going to say that. Yeah,
there's no positive.
Yeah.
20 years later, there will be.
That's true, because now I'm talking to you, and that all came from that period. So it's true, but at the moment, not everything just seems to go right. But still, I'm not a dark person. So always, and that's what I think you hear in the hope. There's always this hope for better days.
Well, you're still here, so you know what I mean. It's like, not everything goes right all the time. I think that things try us, and that's how we learn, and that's how we actually move ahead. Even though at the time it doesn't seem like that. Sometimes it seems you're going backwards when you're really going forwards.
True. Yeah, very true. And I've learned that you really have to sit with it. To sit with the bad stuff that's happening, and not trying to run away or just try to neglect it or just say it's not true. But sometimes you really have to just feel the pain and just sit with it for a day or maybe a week, and not do too much, and then you work through it and not around it. So don't try to go around it. That was one of the things that I thought was nice to write into these songs.
I love that. It's really true. You got to hug the monster, because the more you dodge it, the worse it gets. It just builds and builds and builds, and so it is. And to be able to use music, I think maybe this is why it's so. Your album right now, the world is in so much pain in so many ways, and I think listening. When you say to sit with it, I think that your music helps that, to be able to sit, reflect.
That would be.
It's hard to get to that point, right? It's really difficult. Yeah. Like, it's hard for me to sit down as a human being and I can't just, I need music and wine to do that.
That's true,
That's true. And so music really helps you get to that state. When people sit there and say, "Oh, go meditate," I'm like, "Well, go." I try, and music is my way of getting to that place. And we all have albums that you go to, whether it's happiness, whether it's sorrow, anger. I want to rock, so I'm going to play this album. We all have music, and I think one of your music is one of those where you go, okay, things are possible, but I need to kind of deal with this, and I don't want to just sit in my room without any sound and cry. I need this to help me through, and it's a very healthy thing to do. And so I think it really assists that. And I think with what's going on in the world, so many people are feeling so much on a global perspective that songs and music like yours, it really just, it's there, and it's like the perfect album for just reflection and, looking at things where you can still feel, but you're not going to die over it. You know what I mean? It lets you have that it's a stepping stone.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're not alone. Huh? So when you feel like, I thought I was really alone in that feeling those years, and so the whole album was more, for me, also a confession. Somehow I had to confess to the world what I was feeling, because to be honest, I was ashamed for these kinds of feelings, these vulnerable feelings, and feeling that you're not good enough. It's never gonna end. You shouldn't feel like this. I'm from the 80s. My role models are Schwarzenegger and Rambo. So a man needs to be a man. So it took me years to find. It's good to be vulnerable.
We had Rambo. That's we had to run up the steps. And,
exactly.
Yeah, but see, isn't that weird? Like, look how society's changed. I mean, over the years, it's just so fast. I mean, you think about the 80s, and we had VHS, and and when we lived in South Africa, so I I kan Afrikaans but not Dutch. A thing, but we had like Mnet. We had like one channel of TV, so it's like, now look at it.
That was cool.
And then remember TV shows that have cell phones, and there were these giant computers you'd put up to your ear. And now look at it, and now look, we're talking with you in the Netherlands. We didn't know if it was going to work, and it did, and this is amazing what we have. And it's just, there's progression, but I think we need to slow down and listen to the music while we progress so fast.
I don't think our bodies and our brains are moving as fast as the times.
I agree.
And I think we all got sort of a different rhythm. So it makes it difficult. And the faster the world is moving, the harder it gets. And it's supposed to be convenient. We're doing this to make it easier for you. Well, it isn't.
No, and I found I've heard a Dutch psychologist make a nice comparison. He said that so we're all on this very fast, white, big yacht going 100 miles an hour over the ocean, and on the back of the yacht, once in a while people fall off. And then they're in the water, and then all the psychiatrists, the psychologists come with the little rubber boats, pick them up, dry them, give them warm clothes, and put them on their feet again. But they're not on that fast boat anymore. And I had that feeling for years that I fell off the boat. I couldn't cope with the tempo of the happy smiley people, and I was just I couldn't just take the whole tempo of the thing. And for years I thought it was me. It's not me. It's like a lot of people, most of the people actually don't cope with the speed that we're in this moment. But you really have to find your way yourself into a new balance, because nobody says something about this. It's all faster marketing, the new things.
And it seems really superficial because it's done so fast.
Yeah, in this country, everything is supersized. You can't just have a Coke. You need to have a giant Coke. You can't have a slice of pizza. It must be the entire and extra large, triple large pizza. You can't, everything is that way.
It's the speed. It's like, if it's done that fast, how well thought out is it?
Well, that's another thing that's what I've had to cope with it, because as I'm saying this, I'm also part of humanity at this moment, which and I'm also used to this tempo. But making this record, I really had to. I call it my frustration threshold. I really had to deal with my own frustration threshold. So because I had numerous times that I would want to throw the guitar in against the wall and say no more of this frustration and this. So it really, and so the good things and important things take time, and don't come at once like we all want. Like we all want instant gratification, but important things don't go like that.
No, and I mean, it really is. Where are we? What's the rush?
Yeah, really.
What is the rush?
But listen, we look to Europe, okay, as Americans, and Nancy and I, now we've been here like 30 years, but we lived mostly in Kenya, South Africa, England, a little bit in the Channel Islands and Mexico. And so there was like really more of a community feel, family, village. We just had a chat with my friend from high school in South Africa, and we were talking about how like this was the village, and like none of us could get away with anything because her parents were friends with mine, and like everybody knew who was doing what and where.
That's right.
But we did do bad things. We did. We were very good kids who never went to school. But anyway, but there was this lifestyle of Europe, and coming to this country has been, what I think I was 19 when we got here, and I just couldn't. I just could not. It took a lot to get used to here, and the busyness, and what I thought was 100%, excuse my language, but bullshit busyness. It was just this, what are you doing? This isn't, none of this matters, right? So we always look to Europe, thinking Europe, you guys are all outside drinking beer or wine at tables and just,
cool.
You guys have it all straightened out. So you're making us all feel better.
Well,
Justin, you're making us feel better, because I think the world has changed. Because even my friend and I were talking about it. It's changed. It is just the sign of the times. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's mostly, of course, in the cities. If you're in Holland, if you go outside of Amsterdam or the 3 other big cities, and you go you drive 1.5 an hour, then you're in totally different vibe, and the tempo is much lower. And but we're all moving in the same direction, I guess. And hopefully we find something that makes the Big Bang at the end not so hard for us.
Yeah, really. I hope we don't have to bang, but I do want to go. Are you going to perform live with the album?
Well, I'm not sure yet because I didn't start like that. I didn't start it like a live thing, and but I'm getting some requests from venues, but I don't have the band ready yet. So it's but I don't know yet. So is that strange? But that I'm.
Okay.
But
no, it's all right.
But I need a good band, of course, because it's really done. And if you look at the size of the band that I need to perform this as it's recorded, you don't want to do it with a tape. Then it takes a sizable band, and well, who knows? And then they have to be nice people. So there's going to be a search.
You can't have idiots in the band because that's when
no.
Well, it can be interesting.
I'm too old for that.
Yeah. No, but I think that's the same thing. Held by Trees is that same kind of. It's like ABBA, right? How does ABBA like now even they're trying to do this crazy thing where they're performing from home with this set that goes. It's like crazy. I don't quite get it yet what they're doing, but it's nuts.
3D, yeah.
Yeah, like this 3D, like here we go, but but it's cool because they're embracing things, and they've always I always wondered how the hell did they perform live? So much was mastered in the studio. How did they do that? But
huge
I think it was. Yeah, they had huge bands. So
yeah.
To me, I would say keep it special, and it's not something you could just do limited gigs, like Could
be, that could be the answer, yeah.
Yeah, something special, because I think it is a special album, and I think the more the world is so crazy with so much out there, so we need to stick to quality and things being special and not something that is there every single day. People have to realize and not take everything for granted. So doing limited shows, you know what I mean, is a good thing.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that because, as I said earlier, quality takes time, and also making this music work with a band, you really need very good. Basically, you would need the artists that played on Hell by Trees. That's the level of artist you need. And to be honest, I'm an independent artist. If I look at the cost of having these people play a show, then it's going to cost me a lot of money. Or I have to find a venue that's big enough, and then of course you need enough fans.
But now starts to sound like you guys have to go on tour together. That's what it's sounding like to me. I'm just saying. Yeah, I think Held by Trees, and Just on the same bill.
Wouldn't that be cool?
And
Held
you do
by
like
Trees
a
tour.
Yeah, come on.
That would be
interesting.
As you.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that.
I love that. I want to do that. I want to go.
Everybody who has part in it, like goes to listen and see, must bring a tree to be planted.
Yeah, and so there's trees, and then so I can see the set too, like how Pink Floyd has all their crazy imagery, right? So you got all these trees, but when it gets to you, we need water. You're a water. You're a water sound. You're a water baby.
Yeah.
You are. We need water. We need river, ocean, water.
Right.
I mean, you're in the Netherlands. You are a water baby.
It's true.
Baby.
I grew up at the River Rhine. My grandmother had a campsite there, so it's true. I always go back to the water.
Hey, listen,
cool.
what's
But
going
that's a
on
good
with
idea.
Jeff Bezos' yacht? Did you guys really egg it? Is it in, am I getting
Oh,
Holland?
I when I heard that they had to break down a bridge for it, I thought, oh God,
I know.
where's this going? But I heard that it went well. So they went through all the canals and.
But okay, but how's the bridge? I mean, if I was Jeff Bezos, I'd say, guys, don't worry about it. I just wouldn't make people do that for me.
No,
I don't understand. No,
yeah.
I object. You leave the bridge alone and just get yourself
Did people throw
a
eggs,
rowboat, you baby.
Maybe he could have taken one of his rockets and just fly it to the States.
Really. Come on. Be a man.
Tell him what
Swim
to
it.
do with his rocket.
He could just swim. Stop it.
But listen, okay, so let's get to the album, Deep Cycle's album. I want everyone to know your website, just-artist.com. Also go to Just the Songs on Facebook and music_by_just. Those are the main social sites, and then you can listen on Spotify, all that. But where can people purchase the vinyl, or was that limited edition only?
No, they can, and if they go to just-artist.com, there's a link to my own shop.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, so I've got vinyl, I've got CDs, and
nice.
limited edition vinyl. It's white, so there's still some left.
Nice. Ooh, I love that you did this. I wish I could hear it on vinyl, but we travel full time, so I'd have to have a record player in the car. Which would be pretty cool. I think we need to have something like that down the road. I mean, we've got all this technology. We need mobile
record players. Yeah.
Yes.
But we did in the 50s, didn't we?
I think so. There
little singles.
Yeah.
Well, you could have, like, if you open your glove box and then the little record player comes out, you put the vinyl on and then you close it. And
the picnic and
Wouldn't
nature.
That be cool?
You go to the river. You have to take your car to the river. Plug in your gramophone. I just go to a gramophone. I mean, that's cool.
Boy, you're really going back.
Oh, come on, that would be so cool. Because it would be cool to listen to it on a gramophone, wouldn't it? Like, I kind of think that's cool. I'd like to go back to that. And when you look at those cylinders, like when you think about how a gramophone and record players, that was a huge change, and it's crazy. It's
still crazy
weird.
if you look at the technology. It's still there's this needle goes into the record, and then it turns all this grooves and motion into electricity and good music.
It's crazy. I mean, how does the music really get in there?
Yeah.
I mean, so they put a bunch of grooves in a piece of plastic, and music comes out.
No, and then you have the genie pops out of the bottle and rubs it 3 times, and then it's like, okay, this will be a gold record.
You see, with my children, when they first saw a record player, vinyl record player, a couple of years ago, they were they were totally used to their iPhones with all the chips and all the stuff in it, and they looked at the record players and this is unbelievable. What is this? For magic.
Awesome. It's awesome, and
it's so cool.
I think it would be so cool. I do want to ask you, did you ever listen to Kurt Malou? His music.
No.
Double. He's famous for the song "Captain of Her Heart."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking of that when you're listening to your album. That was where it resonated a little bit for me. I was just wondering
writing it down.
Yeah, there's just I don't know what it is. I think maybe the piano. I don't know. Just go listen. Yeah, go listen to that.
I will.
Yeah. And now, what did you think of Depeche Mode? I have to ask you about Depeche Mode.
Devastated.
Okay, so I'm not the only one. I'm not definitely not the only one. It's sad. Andy Fletcher, man.
Oh yeah, I've
Seriously.
seen them the last 2 tours they did in Holland, and they were really the best. One of the best live acts I've ever seen. They're how you say that? Charismatic. And the songs are, and it's live is such an epic experience. And although he didn't do much I heard the last couple of years in the music. He was more one of the musically he didn't put a lot of input in there, but he was one of the original founders. He was so 60 is
young.
too young, really
yeah,
young.
It's young.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like, in that generation of the 80s and 90s, it's like it was because they really changed it. And that's when I said, like, when you think about synth and keys and like all that kind of sound, right? It's like everything's went electronic and at the same time acoustic. And they managed to put this out there in this way that.
And you know how they did it, because that's what's interesting. What they did, they had synthesizers, but the most part of what they did was sampling organic sounds, putting that into the computer, and that's what you hear. So that's why it's so you cannot really describe it. It's not a synthesizer. It's not a drums. It's not but it's something in between, and that's so magical about their music. It's actual sounds recorded, then put into the synthesizer.
That's exactly. It's crazy. Have you listened to any of Dave Kersner's music?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, he's crazy with all of that. That's what he does. He's like the hoarder of samples. Like, he's got the library from hell, man. I mean, he does. And keys, anything to do with anything that has a key on it, he's got. It's crazy. I follow him on Instagram, and I'm like, he's always like, check this out. I'm like, dude, like, what are you doing with all this stuff?
Yeah.
Like,
how do you manage your library? So that's I found out myself. I'm not that kind of person, because sitting down and just going through thousands and thousands of sounds is not for me. But there are others that are the people that are really can do this until the end of days, and I'm just more of a singer-songwriter. I just have chords and melody and text, lyrics, and then take it from there. So,
what was it like
I'm
writing
always
in
impressed
English?
by people that do it.
Yeah, me too, because it's too geeky for me, but I have mad respect for it. Nancy's a geek. Yeah. She's good at geek stuff. I am too messy. But I want to ask you, writing in English, right? So it was I mean, because you speak perfect English, but would you rather have written your music in Dutch?
No. I don't think Dutch is a really nice language to sing in, and somehow I love the.
Swear in. I can swear.
Yeah,
that's it. Believe in Afrikaans. Like,
oh boy,
seriously.
But it's it's also a little bit easier, because there's this little barrier, because it's not coming in to myself so intense when I would do it in Dutch, because there's this different when I sing in English for myself, and it also for me, I worked around it, because I'm more like this line from John Lennon I always loved. He said, "Just tell the truth and make it rhyme." So I'm not a poet, so I just tell it like it is, and I try to make it rhyme, and that's somehow the way that my lyrics have evolved now, and I'm happy with it. So and hearing you talk about my lyrics, and I hear that message coming across. So no, I really like it, because if I would only do it in Dutch, I wouldn't be talking to you now. So it's
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think English is, in the English language is a pain. It is. It's but it is. But there is a Dutch, like it's a whole different thing. There's a when I'm going more from Afrikaans, which is a little different. And I mean the songs. There were songs that had tenderness, but there's
but
it's just different. Like I'm going through more of a because it's more cultural.
Well, there's soft sounds, there's soft letters, and there's hard letters. And when you like German, it can come off really harsh.
Yeah. True. And it's also has to do with which part of a country you come from, because if you listen to the people in the south of the Netherlands, they have this more warm and this rolling R's and stuff like that. And we're in the middle of Holland and in near Amsterdam where it's all hard. And
you're cool. You're in the cool spot.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, if you talk to a lot of Americans, and they say that you're from Holland, and they say where? So I mean from Amsterdam. Oh, you're from Amsterdam.
Yeah,
so
everyone thinks.
A lot of Americans think that
Africa was a country. Amsterdam is a country too. You know, that's how it is.
That's how it is.
Well, I have to say, where you do all your music work too. Our friends are always posting. Jeroen and Maggie, they're in Sanjik, I think. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. Sanjik. I don't know, but they're always the clubs that you're talking about. They're always there, I think. Because as soon as I was reading about that, I was like, I know that club. Or maybe it's just, so many good people perform there all the time. The Paradiso.
Paradiso, yeah.
Yeah, because they're
famous.
always like, if, Blackberry Smoke or something like that, they're there. They're there all the time, I think. Because it's, you guys, there's something really interesting about all the Americans and Brits need to go to Europe. And they go to you because I don't know what's going on, but then you have to come here. See, it's like we have to take things away to get people to respect them. It's like, the blues bands we know, they go over all the time, and they're like, we have to go to Europe for, people to really get it in our country. So it's like, sorry, we're going to Europe. Oh, okay, now we'll listen to you in this country. Like,
that's weird. The same in Holland. So now I'm so I played with Held by Trees, and the song and the album got into the indie charts at 12 or something. Suddenly in Holland, it's like, oh, wait, you played, you're happening. So you're getting attention in the UK and in the US. Oh, then so it's the same here. It's first you have to, get your credits in another continent or another country, and then your own people.
Maybe that's just human nature.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. We are weird.
Maybe.
Okay, so it's our Champagne Sunday show, and we're gonna close. Are you cool with us closing with Down the River?
Oh,
we
yeah.
Have to talk about, we got to play water music. Okay, good, because I really want to play that. But before we go, what are you happy about that you would give a champagne toast to?
I'm happy to talking to you.
Well, we toast to you because listen, we've had a wonderful time chatting with you.
Fun.
And it has. We should have just put you all on together today because it's been a wild show. I think we solved the world's problems today.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, look how well we did. One bottle of champagne and everything is solved.
Yeah,
Good music really helps, though, more than the champagne. But toast to you on the album. Everyone, again, it is out now, Deep Cycles, and you can go to Just the Songs on Facebook, just-artist.com, and also on Instagram, music_by_just. And, of course, it's Justin Kniest, but he likes to be called the Just. So, Just, there it is. Yes, keep it simple.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. And also we want to thank the National Parks Arts Foundation, again, for sponsoring today's show. Listen to our show with them every first Friday where we interview artists, musicians, writers, poets, anyone in the creative arts that is part of their month-long artist residency program in national parks. So check out their website, nationalparksartsfoundation.org. And, of course, keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. So here it is, Down the River. Thank you so much for joining us, Justin.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Smell of
the one